Hey there guys, here's a little tutorial I want to do on Amazon Echo, or otherwise known as Alexa. I want to be clear that this thing is not a in-depth tutorial on Alexa. It's really just what I know about it after playing with it for a day or so, as I do all my videos. There's much more you can do with this thing, and I also model this after I watched some people's videos, so to get a basic understanding. But as I always do, I'm just trying to make it as simple as I can to get you going pretty fast. So here you see my Alexa page. That's for my specific Alexa account. But let's talk quickly how this thing works. Of course, there's your Alexa, and your Alexa really talks to Amazon. It doesn't. You don't directly talk to it. So your Alexa would really talk to Amazon, and they would control that interaction or whatever. But then inside Amazon, you can set up then inside the Alexa skills and service, you can set up where you implement your code. So this Amazon's going to interpret what who the user is and what's being said, and then and they do that part, and they also send the result back to the Echo, of course, or to Alexa to talk. But then they ask that you provide the implementation. So somewhere here you're going to provide, let's say, an implementation of your code, and you can tell Amazon where that is, meaning they will call you on that code, and this is your implementation. Okay, implementation, and that's code. So in this example, what I'll do with this implementation, I will put it at Lambada, which is a Amazon service, just to run it quickly. And all Lambada is instead of you standing up a whole server and deploying a web server and all sorts of stuff on there, you can use Lambada to just execute a function or something to that effect. So Amazon can just quickly call you, and they just charge you for the time the function executes. Whereas if you stood up a whole server and had a web server and they charge you for the whole time that the server is live. So it's much cheaper just to execute small little transactions. So I'm just going to implement that, but it's important that this could have been at your company or your house or your own service or whatever. Amazon's going to call you, and you can configure where you implement the stuff. So it's really as simple as that. As the Echo talks to Amazon, they interpret what was being said. They're going to call you with an API call wherever you implemented the code, and then you're going to respond with an API. So this here will all be API calls. You'll respond with it, and Amazon will take care of sending a response and having Alexa read the result. So it's really simple. There's not much to it. So as it turns out, then you really only need three things. You need an intent schema file, you need an utterance file, and you need your implementation. And in this case, it was a Node.js, and it's pretty old Node.js code. But we'll go through that in a second. But again, the implementation could have been anything, as long as you have an API that receives something and can send something in a certain format. And we can maybe look at that. But what it is here's your, if you start in the first of the three things you need is the schema, intent schema, and here you say the things that can happen. So I'm going to write a little service where you can ask for deals, or what's featured, or what awards do I have, that kind of thing. So here is a intent, get awards. There's a intent get deals, and there's an intent get featured. So there's three things that I can do here: awards, featured, and deals. So then there's this concept of slots, and slots are input parameters. So in this case, I named it for time, and I'm asking Amazon to convert and give me a date. So that's all that is. So this featured has a slot, and you can create custom slots, and there's a whole world around this. But you can create, I created and called it for time, and Amazon date. So what I'm expecting is when somebody says, give me the featured deal for February, I will be able, instead of just, these guys will just give me the deals, give me my awards, and this guy would be, give me the featured deal for February, something like that. And then so it has one more parameter, but you can play with that. So that's the first file. It's very simple. It's just a JSON file, and that's all that's in it. The second file is the utterances, and here you say you're just mapping these things. So awards, and here there was get awards, and here there's then get awards, and I have three of them, and you can have many of them, but you can say my awards, my current awards. These are the things you can say to trigger awards or get awards. And then deals, the same thing: deals, my current deals. But then featured deal or featured, but then I added that variable for time, or that slot for time in there, and that's this guy, Amazon.date. So that's the for time that's in there. So lastly, that's very simple. So those are the two files to get it up and running, and here's your implementation. So this is in Node.js, and I'm not it's JavaScript. I'm not a good JavaScript programmer. I would prefer to write this in Java or something else, but you can. But to run it on Lambada, I just had to take this JavaScript sample, and just so I can quickly execute it. I'll do a proper implementation later. But the states are new session, launch request, and session end. Okay, and that's really it. There's when a new session is created, meaning somebody just starts talking to Alexa, then this will happen. This will get fired. If you actually launch something, which is this one, then there's your launch, and that is without an intent, meaning just saying the word. So it's just going to say welcome to the skill. That's sort of the beginning. And then there's these intents, and that's the things we had over here, the intents, the three intents. So there's one for get deal, awards, and featured. And those are pretty simple. And the only thing that's going to happen if you ask for get deals, and again, that's via the utterances. So get deals could have been deals, my current deals. This will get executed, and I just created a variable deal 7, and says you currently have whatever that variable is, deals available. Of course, this data could have come from a backend database, and it could have come from web services or wherever. This is just a static sample. So same thing with awards. It's currently 1. Your current award count is whatever. And then in featured, where you can pass in that slot, remember in featured you can pass this date in. Here I said, okay, so print to the console, log it, whatever the slot value was, and if it's not nothing, then look at the date and see, if it was, and this is pretty static. Of course, you wouldn't do it like this, but if the date happens to be in January, then tell them that in January it was a supercar, or in February, if a date starts with February. So Amazon converts whatever the users say into a date then, and sends you a date, and then you can decide what to what the response is for a specific date. And if you don't have a date, then you'll just respond with a default one. So that's it. And of course, all switch command should have a default, and it will just, I don't understand the question. And then of course if it breaks, we also want to put it all inside the try catch block, so that you can actually just print out the failure. And then and there's the end request, and then there's just two helpers over here that's just converting it to text. So it's as simple as that. There's many implementations of this. This is just a Node.js implementation. There's my utterances. Those are the only three things you need. So if you then start off with going to Amazon, you would go first of all to Amazon, and you'd log in, and you click on the Alexa tab, and you're going to say add a new skill, and here you're going to just give it a name, and I'm just going to say test deals, and I'm just going to say test deals. Okay, and this is the name that Alexa is going to expect. So if you say something like
sorry, I don't know that.
Oh, there she is in the background, of course. Let me go mute her quickly. So if you say something like, Alexa, give me ask test deals, and that's this word, where what are my deals, what are my current deals. So that's the word, test deals. That's the wake up word or whatever. So that's the first thing. And again, there's so much stuff you can do. There's a briefing skill, the smart home, video. At the moment I'm just doing a custom interaction. So we would do that, now here comes the where you would put your intent in. And if we go back to our intent, that was our intent there with the three things: awards, featured, and deal. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to paste that into there. There's your intents, and here's your custom slots. I had one slot in here, and I'm just using Amazon.date, but I could create my own custom slots if I wanted to. Those are the variables that gets passed in. So and then here's the utterances. So I would just go back again to here and get my utterances, and those are the words I was going to say. So Alexa, ask, what did we say, test deals about my awards, and then get awards will get executed. So that's the basic flow there. So there's my utterances, and I would hit next there. So and here now is, where's your implementation of this thing? So is your implementation on Lambada, or are you going to provide a HTTPS endpoint? Meaning that's back to maybe this little picture where you implementing this thing. So we've now told Amazon, these are our intents, these are our utterances, and now it says, okay, where's the code implemented? So this could have been again at your own company or whatever, or your own servers, but I'm just going to use Lambada at Amazon. So to do that, I need to create a new Lambada execution over here. So in AWS, I go into Lambada, you see, and I'm going to create a new Lambada function, and you see there's many of them already here. There's already ones that's already made for Alexa, but I'm just going to create a blank one, and note that you must be in North Virginia region. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say I'm going to use Alexa skill kit. As you can see, there's many things that you can do with Lambada, but I'm just going to say Alexa skill kit. So next, and here I have to now name my function, and I'm just going to say test deal API. Oops. Test deal API skill. That's what I'm just going to name it, and I'm just going to testing a deals API skill. That's just what I'll call it. and there's many Java and Python and anything that you can execute with. But again, this could have been your own service. I'm just going to do it over here. So I'm going to execute Node.js 4.3 because my Node file is, or my JavaScript file is pretty old. And that's this implementation. So I'm going to just copy this implementation into the into this over here, into where the code is. And let's see, there's keys and values and handler, you stay the same. And here under the role, you need to choose an existing role or create a new role from template. But what you want is you want to be able to get this Lambda basic execution role. So you might have to play and create a new one. Otherwise, if you already have it there, you know, but that's only if you use Lambda. This could have again run on your own servers. So everything else, I'm not changing anything, you know, memory and execution and all of that. I don't care about that because this is just a very small thing. Test deal API skill, and I'm going to create this function. And there's the function now. It has been created. So what it gives me though is this number over here, and that's the ARN, or the place where it runs, as it were, which I need to go tell you know, Alexa about, or the Alexa service. Again, it could have been an HTTPS endpoint at your location, but I'm using Lambda, and I'm in North America, and there's the endpoint we're talking about. So I'm not going to worry about account linking. Again, and you know, this skill at the moment is a sessionless. You can have sessions, and you can have account linked to it, and you can authenticate. There's so much stuff you can do with this. This is just a basic thing. So there, my skill is there, and it's ready. So over here too, the skill is ready. And so, you know, if I look at the code, there it is. I can do two places of testing it. I can test it here, and if I test it here, I'm just going to create a Alexa, let's call the start session. That's just going to call the start session. And as you remember from the code, the start session is just going to log out to the console new session. That's all it should do. So if you look at this and you go look at the logs, there you see new session ended up in the logs, and that's it, as simple as that. So but here you can also then and that's testing just in Lambda, but you can also test it from here, meaning from Alexa, and I'm just going to say deals. So Alexa, ask, what did we call this thing? Let's just see again what we called it. Test deals. So it will be Alexa, ask test deals about deals. You know, and there it is. That's the actual API call that you'll receive. You'll receive something about get deal, and that's your intent request and nothing in the slots. And here's my response back from my little Lambda service, or your service. This is what would have been the response. You currently have 7 deals available. It's as simple as that. So if we look at awards and ask, award count is 1. Okay, we can go into the code here, and let's look at that thing called awards. Here is switch. There's the awards. I have a variable awards, and I'm going to put 100 in there, and I'm going to save it. So now when I call it, of course, awards, ask it, this time the answer is 100. So that's it, you know, over here. Let's just do the other one, the featured. See if that's working. Featured, and you currently have 7 deals available. Featured deal, and now it gets into the actual, if we go back to our utterances here. So featured deal, and now we're going to just work with this for time that we sent in. So it executed. You have a 7-day vacation at the moment. So why did it execute that? Let's go look at the code, and it says featured gets executed. We know it's the slot, and let's look at the slot variable that gets printed out. That's what was passed in. So if we look at the logs, and there's another way you can look at the logs. That's you know, inside here you can actually go up to monitoring, and you can look at the logs for the service, and that's the latest log. So what got passed in, here's the slot value, and it was undefined, meaning there was no value sent, which makes sense. It was feature deal. But if I were to say feature deal last month, you know, and I ask Alexa when, you know, the deal is for May 2017 was, and the reason was, if you see that the slot, it populated 4 times with the value of 2017-05. So that is because it's now May, June, it's now June. Yep, it's June and here. So I said last month. So Amazon converted last month into that date for me and put it in that API request. So if I said to Amazon, you know, 4 months ago, Amazon will convert 4 months ago into a value of 2017-02-22, because it's the 22nd today. So 4 months ago, that's the value they sent me in my API request. And then I can respond to my code and say, and again here in the code, I can say, oh, if it starts with 2017-02, return that it was a fancy car. Of course, you wouldn't do it like this. You would do it with, you know, a proper database and proper structures behind it. But that's basically it. Let me just quickly go ask you know, Alexa these things and show you it actually working, because once you've created this, let me go back to my Alexa account. You can then click on skills, and because it was done under my account, my skills, there's a new thing here called test deals. So and there it is, and that skill is now available on my actual Alexa. So let's go ask her quickly and see what she says. Alexa, ask test deals.
Welcome to the Alexa skill.
Alexa, ask test deals about my current deals.
You currently have 7 deals available.
Alexa, ask test deals about my awards.
Current award count is 100.
Alexa, ask test deals about my featured deal for 2 months ago.
The deal for April 2017 was a minivan.
Alexa, I love you.
That's really sweet.
Well, thank you guys, and hope everything's good, and you have, and you know, my basic implementation or presentation on this. Thank you.